This is Derek with Onwa with Themedicineshell, and today I'm going to talk about the afterlife in Igbo cosmology. What happens to you when you pass, and how we view crossing over to the other side, as well as what the other side looks like in Odinala. In 2015, I went back to my ancestral community to say goodbye to my grandfather. I spent a little bit of my childhood there, and today I'm fortunate to be able to see him when I remember that time in my life. He was a man of routine and discipline. Every morning he drank his tea and read an entire newspaper from front to back before beginning his day. At the end of the day, he would return to his house, drink some more tea, and share stories of his time in the war, as well as his life and things he had experienced during it. He was the son of a wealthy merchant who himself had built a fortune and lost it during the Biafra War as a food supplier for our upstart military. He had a few brief years of education that were cut short by his own father's passing, but remained his pride throughout his adult life as he spent it reading avidly with the skills he had picked up in those few years. His passing made me think more about the afterlife and our idea of Ilo Uwa in Odinala. Ilo Uwa is at the core of how we view death in Odinala. It is the return of a person's Onwa into the mortal plane after their passing. Ilo Uwa is a process and wisdom that comes with its own philosophical, social, and spiritual framework. Though we often translate it as reincarnation, it could be argued that the idea encompasses a philosophical framework far bigger than rebirth and return, and I will explain that shortly. The ancestors believed that a human being is a unity of four spiritual essences that mirror the four chambers of the heart. These are Chi, Eke, Onwa, and Mo. Your Chi is a particle of God the Father within you and around you. It is your animating force and your guide and protection in the living world, as well as your ethereal divinity. It is your divinity as an individual, a body of creation that interacts with existence. It is God the Mother within you and around you. Onwa is the part of you that returns to earth after death with a purpose. It is also Agwu, the universal mind, which brings Chi, the unmanifest, into Eke, the mortal plane of existence. And then finally, there's Mo. Mo is your spirit, the immortal, unmanifest shadow that follows you through life, growing as you grow and existing beyond your existence as a ghost capsule of everything you are as a person. When a person dies, the four chambers go their separate ways. Eke is the dust that returns to dust. Chi returns to Chi. Mo enters the land of the spirits known as Ala Mo, and Onwa, on the other hand, begins the journey all over again in a process known as Ilo Uwa. The first step in the process is that Onwa returns to Chukwu to regain its divine mission. This purpose is based on God's design for the universe as a whole. Metaphorically, our ancestors saw the universe similar to a spider web. Each person's Onwa is a fiber connecting to other fibers and doing its part to hold up God's design altogether. Each of us a string in a fabric greater than us, but needing our presence to achieve wholeness. If Onwa's purpose was incomplete in the previous life, Chi will grant Onwa the right to return. It is also important to know that each Onwa has 8 chances of return to find and achieve its purpose within God's design before finally merging with Chi forever. Therefore, it is said that each person reincarnates 4 to 8 times before finally entering divinity. Once your Onwa receives its purpose, it merges with Chi and begins to head into the manifest realm known as Eke. Both Chi and Onwa enter the world of the living through the womb of Allah, the Earth Mother. While in the womb, your Onwa and your Chi negotiate with Allah for an opportunity to enter the mortal world. Within this negotiation, Eke, which in this case is interchangeable with Allah, gives your Chi and Onwa rules to live by. Onwa and Chi agree not to commit Aru or abominations once you are born and uphold the will of the ancestors in the land that you'll find yourself in. Among many things, these negotiations will determine who your mother will be as well as your characteristics as a person. Eke then encrypts messages from herself, your Chi, and Onwa on your body. You will be born with these messages on you, and many will appear later in life. These messages will give you clues as to who you are and who you were in the previous life, as well as clues to your purpose on Earth. You may be born with a birthmark identical to one you held in a previous life. If you had a scar in a life before, you may be born with a mark there. If your Onwa duplicates itself and reincarnates through multiple people, you may all share similar physical birthmarks or eventual scars in the same places. Lastly, your destiny will be written on the palm of your hand through lines known as Akaraka. In ancestral thought, these lines could be read to determine one's fate or peculiarities about their life to come. Metaphorically, they symbolize the idea in Odinala that the destiny is written. but also sits in the palm of a hand, meaning that your destiny on earth is not something that controls you, but your access to control itself. So once the negotiations are done, Chi, Eke, and Onwa become one, and it is then you are born. Once you are born, your Mo or spirit self manifests as a shadow of the three elements, and from there you are complete. Your Mo is yours alone and will grow with you similar to a shadow. It is the part of you that will exist forever as a capsule of who you were as an individual. It is where your memories, experiences, and identity live, and when you pass, it will enter Mo or roam the earth lost, depending on your actions and who you were on earth. And I will explain this shortly. Family and loved ones are central to the idea of death in Odinala, and individuals typically incarnate within immediate family, though there are exceptions. Allah typically incarnates a person through a mother and a father that were good to them or beloved by them in a previous life. This is her blessing to the child and to the family, to ensure that the child is cared for by people who have shown the ability and hearts to care for them in the past. Sometimes this may also be outside of your family. Many women have stories of visiting elders and having the elder tell them that they will soon return through them, then passing shortly after. And as I said earlier, Ilo Uwa is more than reincarnation. There is a philosophical, social, and spiritual framework that grounds the idea in reality, even for the less superstitious among us, like myself. Here are the examples. Philosophically, Ilo Uwa gives an opportunity for love or affection transfer. When an individual passes, a major pain we feel comes from the fact that we are not able to enact our affection for that person again. It could be argued that losing the opportunity to express our love or feeling the love of the individual is the real tragedy of death. The ones that hurt us the most are those that are closest to us, and it hurts even more because within us is a desire to let our love be known, felt, and seen by another person. There's also the tragedy of the individual not being able to feel or witness a justice or peace that they deserve. When the Onwa returns to the world, the family and friends of the reborn have an opportunity to transfer their relationships and love onto the newborn child. Wives will often call their returning spouses their husbands. Mothers who are witnessing the return of their sister will affectionately call the child by the name they had in the previous life. People will bring things, memories, and experiences that made the person happy in their previous life to the child. They will watch over, visit, and care for the child the way they did in the life before, or the way the child did for them when they were younger and the child was the elder. Individuals who have done a person wrong will have an opportunity to atone by caring for the child and ensuring their well-being, as well as apologizing and bearing hatchets from the previous life. On a personal level, I was happy to meet my son from a previous life during my wedding, though I don't believe it was the first time we had met. He was probably in his 70s and I was stricken by the way he looked at me. I personally reincarnated from a more distant family member, so having these interactions are rare for me. But the man insisted on holding my hand as much as possible and following me everywhere he could during the wedding, and the process felt very right and fulfilling for me personally. Beyond the philosophy of love transfer, socially, family makes the first decision on whether you will return to the world after death, because the way you are buried communicates how the spirit will transition. Those who commit Aru against the earth without atonement cannot be placed in the earth, for they have broken their promise to Allah, the Earth Mother. What is considered an abomination varies by family and community, but often includes murder, incest, suicide, the breaking of community vows, such as climbing particular trees or cutting down particular trees, breaking ancestral decrees, or killing animals and people attached to Allah. It is the responsibility of your family to atone for the Aru you committed, or else the spirits cannot transition into Mo, the world of the dead. Also, if a person lives a life that makes their family not want them to return into the world, their family can opt not to have your second funeral. In our ancestral culture, an individual has two funerals. The first is Ikpa, which is the celebration of the corpse. The second is Ikpa, which is a celebration of the spirit of the individual. For Ikpa, an individual is bathed before they are buried. Women are bathed by the Ada, or first daughter of the nuclear or kindred family, while the Ogbaru, the first son of the nuclear or kindred family, bathe the deceased males. After this is done, they are buried, traditionally sent off with the phrase Jenkama, as their grave is filled with soil and gifts or mementos to the bond they had with the individuals above. Ikpa is the formal returning of the body to Allah, and therefore returning to Eke. The second funeral is the celebration of an individual's life, achievements, and legacy known as Ikpa. This ceremony is a send-off of a person's Mo into Mo, or the world of the spirits, where they will join the ancestors. Ancestorhood is not a given, but a title earned by those who do right by their community and family in their time alive. As an ancestor, one's community and descendants will strive to keep your memory alive for generations by doing your will on earth after your passing. If an ancestor made his or her will known on earth before passing, these commandments become family and personal law for the descendants. If an ancestor left an example on earth, it is sought after by the living descendants. Their name is used as a source of inspiration and called on when they wish for your spirit to fill them. Ancestorhood allows moi to exist in a la moi and to be embodied by your progeny and community through their actions and thoughts. The presence of great ancestors is kept alive in nearly all earthly nations through ceremonies, holidays, statues, works of art, and prayer. By performing Ikpa moi, your descendants have elected you for ancestorhood, and their connection, thoughts, values, and spirits will keep your flame alive for many generations to come. Many will commemorate great ancestors in masquerade festivals. One of the most popular and intimately linked with ancestral connection is that of Mmanwu, and so popular is this particular masquerade that it has become a colloquial term for masquerades as a whole. Mmanwu is a composite of two words, together meaning knowing the dead. Though it is also important to remember the word ma means spirit or person, and therefore in words like madu, you have a word that means living essence as well as person. In order for a family to have Mmanwu, they must build a home for the masquerade or designate the home of the ancestor to it. After that, a living woman marries the masquerade and becomes its wife, living in the home of the masquerade and seeing the deceased person as their deceased husband. During its time of the year, which is Onwa, the moon of Agwu, or in some communities, Onwa Joku, 2 months dedicated to the act of reincarnation, the Mmanwu is brought to life by the masquerade fraternity that specializes in the secret art of managing and invoking Mmanwu. The ceremony they apply for awakening the ancestor is secret, though it ends in the whipping of the floor outside the home as the masquerade comes to life, and from there the journey begins. Mmanwu will dance and be honored through the community, visiting the home of great people and showering them with proverbs and prayers of blessing, as well as whipping those that get in its path or disrespect it. Different communities will have different masquerade traditions connected to their own interface with the spiritual realm, as well as their history and lineage, though most feature a masquerade with a similar function that appears during the harvest, like Mmanwu. In 2015, I went home to say goodbye to my grandfather right when the Mmanwu season was just ending. According to the doctor, he was supposed to have passed during the season, but when he heard I was coming, according to everybody, he decided to wait. When I arrived, he was wearing his finest clothes. He had his signature cane and Ishago, and he jumped right into telling me about how everyone or how his son was coming to take him back to America, and people didn't believe him, but here I am. And then he started discussing global affairs. I remember he made a joke about how China and Taiwan didn't get along, and about the time at University of Ife, right before the Biafra War, how he went to go see the first black president of America, and how he didn't understand why everybody kept saying Obama was the first black president. Though I personally think he had gone to see Malcolm X, who had visited the school around that time, and there was likely a misconception in the audience or maybe in his own memory. But either way, in my grandfather's last days, he was surrounded by family. We all took turns bathing him and hung out with him as much as possible. He was in his 80s, and every morning he still read his newspaper from front to back without squinting or wearing glasses. And he was happy throughout the stay and laughed his subtle laugh often. Though there was the, 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 though he was very bothered by the doctor's order that he couldn't drink tea. So every morning he would try to get us to sneak him some tea. And then he would forget that he asked you to sneak him the tea and you had already said no, and he would try again over and over and over. But it was all right. When he passed, there was like an aura of somber celebration for a life well lived. And everybody was generally happy at how united the family was and how well the whole thing was handled. After I returned, my then girlfriend and I got married, and soon after we had our son. 4 days after his birth, my father called to tell me that he had gone to a shrine near my wife's community and that my grandfather had returned through my son. 4 months ago, my son turned 2, and he's already able to read at a preschool or maybe kindergarten level. He reads his children's books every day, day and night, if he gets the chance, and he constantly insists that he has to start his day with a cup of tea. And if he doesn't get his tea, he raises hell. So you take that as what you want to take it as. But anyway, this is Derek of Onwa with Themedicineshell. I want to thank you guys for watching. This video is a little late, so I do apologize for that. The unit above us at my apartment had flooded, and so they moved us to a new unit, and I've been busy with that whole situation. Go ahead and comment and subscribe. I'm going to be starting live stream videos just to answer some of the questions I've been getting in DMs and Twitter and in the comment section of the YouTube. So keep the questions coming and keep the comments coming. And again, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. I got more coming. Take care.